Welcome to Inside Abode, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? Dave Jones. Let's get right into it. We are going through our spring market right now. Is there's a lot happening. It's been a really super busy last couple months. I'm sorry, did I say months? Last couple weeks. It feels like months. We've had, I don't know what, 11 listings go on live, and which is a lot for us last week, which means that hopefully, conversely, we're going to have, all of those turnover, which probably more than half of them have, and gone off the market really quickly. So I feel like we're right in the spring market. We have 9 more, I believe, going on next week. I think we had 6 this week, but so I feel like we're just in this churn of the spring market. We're in the beginning part of the spring market. So what we're trying to do, what I want to do with these podcasts is hopefully provide, insight or, hopefully some recommendations or guidance or suggestions on potentially how you can navigate this market right now as a buyer or a seller or a real estate agent. So today we are going to be talking about staging. But before we get into that conversation, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching live, you can ask questions while we're doing it. That's great. And all that. But let's get into today's discussion about staging. So we have our special guest today that's going to come on in just a minute. But before I do that, again, I'm going to go over some stats. These stats are from National Association of Realtors. So let me go through some of these stats about staging. So let's see. The first one is a significant 81% of buyers agents stated that staging a home made it easier for buyers to visualize the property as their future home. 81% of buyers agents stated that staging a home made it easier to visualize the property as their future home. So let's see what else they said. Similarly, 41% of sellers agents observed an increase in the dollar value offered for staged homes in comparison to unstaged properties. And then the last one is approximately 38% of buyers agents reported that staging increased the dollar value offered by buyers between 1% and 5% compared to unstaged homes. And so I think that those are interesting stats. And what is staging? So we'll talk about what is staging here in just a moment. So let me introduce my guest that's going to come on and tell us a little bit more about the nuances of staging and what that looks like. And so let's see. Our next guest on the Inside Abode podcast, we had Holly last week. So shout out to Holly and talking about the market and how you can negotiate and strategies that you can use and all that other kind of stuff. So if you have not listened to that one, go back about a week and you'll listen to Holly talk about that. So shout out to Holly. That was a great podcast. But our guest today has 10 years in the game, 10 years in real estate, 1 year with us with Windermere Abode, but she's 10 years in experience. She's a PLU grad and has a degree in psychology and gender studies. She's also a cat lover, has 2 cats. Definitely loves cats. And she's a lover of grand cinema popcorn, I just learned. And I just learned that because I'm finna go get some tonight probably. But welcome, Keryn Giguere, ladies and gentlemen. Keryn, how you doing?
Good.
It's good.
What
It's
an
good.
intro. Crazy cat lady.
Crazy cat lady. Let me see. Do you hear that? Do you have an echo?
I don't have an echo.
Okay.
You keep freezing, so I'm looking at still shots of you, but I don't have an echo.
Oh, it's all good. Act like, can you hear me all right though?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So you just keep on moving. It'll upload on your side by itself. You see that little thing up there. So don't worry about that. It'll work itself out. So how you doing? What's new? Are you you're in in the spring market? Are you feeling the spring market right now, or is it just
Yeah,
just a me thing?
the other day I was logging into the Northwest MLS, and I saw just in my little region that I follow really closely, so many new listings, like so many. I had to do a double take because it's been a lot lower number for a while, and the other day I was like, is that right? That's like 3 times the amount of listings I see come on in a week. So
Yeah, for real. For us, I was laughing about calling earlier today because we go through this every single time. we'll be like, man,
we'll
what's
be like,
going
man,
on?
what's
Why is it
going
so
on? Why is
slow?
it so slow?
Whatever.
Whatever. And then all of a sudden, like 1 week hits, and then we're like,
our hair's on fire.
our hair's on fire.
So
So
yeah, just
yeah,
happens that
just
way.
happens that way.
So yeah, tell us
So yeah, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
As you said, I've been doing this 10 years, which time flies. But when you asked for somebody to come on and you said staging as a topic, I'm like, as much as I hate the idea of being live, I can talk about staging because it's something I talk about a lot and that I truly believe in. So I said, okay, I'll volunteer for this topic.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
So first of all,
what is staging?
Yeah, so there are options with staging. It's not a one size fits all. I think most people just think of their house is empty and then there's stuff in it. And that's staging. For me, whenever I'm going over staging, it's not a one size fits all. I'm looking at, do we need partial staging? So using some of your stuff that's already in the house and having a stager help us with the existing stuff. So maybe that dresser would look better over here, that table looks better over there, and then they bring in supplementary items. Or we're doing a full staging, which is the house is empty, and the stager brings in everything from art to furniture, plants, it's not just furniture. Or we're doing 100% consult where you have art, you have furniture that's going to work for staging, and the stager's just helping us find the best place for everything and finding out how much of the furniture should just go in storage or to get rid of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that explanation. But
like when you first visit a home, like how do you what signs do you look for?
Is there something that you look for, or is it like
you might walk
into a house
and it might already have some cool
furniture or whatever?
Like how do you decide whether staging is needed or not?
Yeah. There's a few different things. One, the amount of stuff, because some people just have more stuff in their homes and some people don't. And then the style of home. So, as an example, I recently listed a home for a relative, and they had their home rebuilt. It was burned down in a fire. So the old home they were in for years and years had older furniture, and they were an older person. And then when the home was rebuilt, brand new snazzy home, but they were an older person, so they had older furniture in there. So when we went to list it, another relative of mine was like, well, we have furniture in here. I'm like, it's not right though. It's not quite right. Like I was like, this is older. It was dark wood, and the house was like light, bright, white. I'm like, we need white, couches. We need bright furniture. So I'm looking at the style, and going from that, not all staging is equal. So depending on the home, multiple stagers might be able to do the job, but if it's like a historic craftsman, I really want the stager that I know has a higher inventory and has, items that are going to fit the vibe and the image that we're trying to create and showcase.
Okay, so different stagers all have the different vibes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got like 3 stagers I like to work with regularly, and I'll recommend maybe a couple, but sometimes I kind of already know, like, hey, I got a few if you want us to get multiple bids, but like this is the person for this house.
Okay. That's
I feel like that's a pretty big value add. I don't know.
That's experience, because I'll tell you what, trying a new stager, it's a little scary. Because usually they can show you, like, here's, homes I've staged before, but you don't know their style too, and like how flexible they are. How long are they going to let you have the furniture in there before they start charging you another fee? What is that fee? How detailed are their bids? Yeah, just like home inspectors, like trying a new one the first time, it's scary. So
yeah.
No, I could totally
see that.
How do you determine what areas are rooms?
Like, so let's say you walk into a house, you're looking at the staging, but like,
is there
certain rooms that you want to stage versus other ones?
I think that kind of comes down to budget. So I don't like absolute truths. So I'm going to say 99% of the time, all homes can benefit from staging. But if you're on a tighter budget, like staging is expensive. And I think people don't realize you're not just paying for the styling, you're paying for where are these stagers having to pay to keep their inventory? They're having to pay a fee to store the stuff. They got to pay movers to move the stuff. And moving stuff sucks. That's why we pay moving companies to move our stuff in and out, because it's work. It's, physical labor. So they're paying a crew to do that. And then you're also paying them for their expertise to make things look nice. That's a skill that not all of us have. So if your budget is tighter, maybe we're looking at bare bones, like the living space, ideally, kitchen, and like main bedroom. To me, that's kind of bare bones staging. If there's a weird space, we got old homes in Tacoma, maybe something's real quirky. There's like dormered ceilings, or like the basement's a little ugly, and we gotta set up a workout space or something to show how you can use that special unique space in your home. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind goes, is like, what's the budget like? If you're like, let's go all out, let's do a little in every room, that's ideal. But not everybody wants to spend $3 or $4 grand on staging, or they simply can't. So
You
yeah,
you said 3 or 4 grand?
Yeah, that's not untypical. It depends on how big your house is, how many bedrooms. So what I like to do is I'll ask ahead of time, once we get the bid, like, hey, can you give us a bid that shows this, and then one that shows this, and this, so we can like compare. And depending on your stager, like that's why I like to have a few stagers too, because they're priced differently. Like some stagers have been in the game longer, they have more of an inventory. So if you have that unique architecture that needs special furniture, they're going to charge more. There's going to be more of a premium. So yeah, so it comes down to budget for me on which areas we should stage and shouldn't stage. As far as cost goes, not to dive too deep into it, but there are options, and every stager is different in that way too. Some will be paid out of escrow, so that means escrow will hold their fee back and take it out of your net proceeds as a seller at the end. Or some of them will take half payment up front. Some agents pay into the staging, some don't. Some will pay on your behalf, but then they'll get paid, reimbursed at closing. So there are, or they'll wrap it up into their commission. So there are ways to get around just, writing a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 check, out the gate.
Okay, that helps me.
That helps me a little bit. So when I heard that, I was like, dang, that's a lot.
So I'm a seller. Walk me
through the process of what this looks like. So
the first step to
the I don't know, even fourth step, I guess.
For me, because I'm sure everybody has their own process, but I like to get in there ASAP myself, because then I can kind of feel out where we're at in the process. Because sometimes people need to declutter on their own before we even get the stager in there, depending on how much stuff you have, and how much time we have. So if you get way ahead of the game, I might say like, oh yeah, declutter this area, this area, this area, then we'll bring the stager in. But if you're pretty much ready to go, you don't have a ton of stuff, let's get the stager in right away. And I'll determine when I come visit, are we going to pay her just for a consult to style your existing stuff and determine what needs to get out? Or are we getting bids? So is the stager going to come in, take her picks, their picks, take notes, and then give us a bid on how much it would cost and their availability? That's the other thing, like stagers and good stagers. I think sometimes people think that they're just ready at the drop of a hat. No. Some stagers get booked like a month in advance, like when they're good, and it's a lot of moving parts on their end, like the moving crew, and how much furniture they have on hand at any given time. So the sooner we could get a stager in there to get the process going, the better, in my mind.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
What are your thoughts on
virtual staging?
Honestly, I know I can see why some people like it, and I can see why some people find it beneficial. Personally, I don't like it.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it just
I just think
because
it's
Is it
kind
just
of weird.
because
it's
like
false?
it's
Do you feel like
false?
it's
Do you feel like it's like false
advertising
advertising in some ways?
Even the good stuff, because every now and then I'll see one, I'm like, I have to like double take. I'm like, wait, that's virtual staging. I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, just looking at the pictures. I just think that part of the staging, in my opinion, like, yes, it makes the marketing look better, like the photos and the video. So it checks that box, I guess, for the pictures.
Right.
But to
Right.
me, staging is the experience when you're there in person and like the story you're telling and the vibe you're creating. Because staging is not just about the marketing, it's the experience when you show the home. To me, when a house is clean and it's staged and I'm showing it with buyers, like I bring my buyers there, I'm like, oh, they're on their game. Like, this is, they're not being sloppy with presentation, so they're gonna, the, to me, it signals like, be serious with your offers, and like we're
Ooh, that's a good-
detailed with our
that's a good point.
presentation, like, so don't be bringing us no sloppy offers. That's kind of, or like this agent, I assume, I could be wrong, but I'm like, this agent knows what they're doing. They're giving good advice. Like, they're taking time. They're detailed. Like, they probably, I'll check, but they probably priced, more accurately than someone that just threw something on that's doesn't seem like it's had a lot of guidance and care.
Right.
Right.
No, that
No,
makes sense.
That makes sense. I've never thought about that part. The
piece.
offer piece.
Like, I think that's
Like, I think that's really good.
So,
like,
what are some
like,
tips
what are
that
some tips that you would offer
sellers
who might have, well, I think we already kind of talked about this, but have a limited budget but still want to effectively stage their home
to check
Well,
buyers?
to check buyers?
One thing I didn't talk about, which to me is one of the most stressful parts of this job, is timing. And there's so many moving parts. So another thing to keep in mind with staging is like you want to get on the stager's calendar, but you don't want to schedule it too far in advance of when you want to market, like get the marketing done, like the photos and the video. Because most stagers that I've worked with, once they put the staging in the home, the time starts ticking. And usually it's 30 to 45 days that you have that stuff in there. And then if you want to keep it in there because you haven't come onto the market yet, the staging's been in there 2 weeks, or you had to do a couple price drops and you want the furniture there still, because why would you invest that money only to have the furniture taken out and then you price drop 20 grand and you don't have that furniture creating the vibes? Horrible. Nightmare. So ideally you time it right before photos and videos. Get that done, get it on the market ASAP so you can, get the most out of the money you've spent, invest it into making the property look the way it does.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes sense.
How do you
I
was talking about money.
See, pain.
It's gonna come back.
It's gonna come back to me.
Well, talking about money, so
Yeah.
one thing that's hard for folks is like, especially if it's a seller's market, they're like, one of the questions I saw was, why would if my house is going to sell? Like, let's say you're in a hot spot. It's like, oh, my house is going to sell. People want to live in my neighborhood. Why would I invest that money? In our industry, a lot of people talk about buyer's remorse. And I don't hear people talk about seller's remorse very often. And that's my fear. And I'm trying to avoid that for my buyers and my sellers. If you're a seller and we're talking about price dropping once or, God forbid, more than once, I do not want my client to think, what if I would have staged? What if I would have cleaned? What if I would have, had the yard gussied up a little bit? When you do those price drops, even if it's just 10 grand, when you pull out all the stops and you do everything, in your power you can do, you feel a lot more confident dropping the price because you're like, we followed that equation. We did everything we were supposed to do. And then I've had people say, I don't want to do staging. I don't want to do it. I get why some people do it. I don't want to do it. And then after they price drop, it's like, well, can we put staging in now? And I'm like, we can. But our first week on market is, when we make the biggest impression. So then you're like back, like people talk about chasing the market when you overprice and you're trying to get, it kind of reminds me of that. It doesn't feel good. And then you're investing the money and I think it's better to do it up front.
To be proactive.
And be confident. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that.
I like that.
And then based on
the numbers that I just shared.
Let me go back. So
81% of buyers agents stated that staging home made it easier.
41%
of sellers agents observed an increase in the dollar value offered.
And then
approximately
approximately
38% of buyers agents reported that
staging
staging increased their dollar value.
And typically they sell faster too, is the thing. Staged homes typically sell faster, because the only time I could see staging not really being ideal, budget and everything aside, just is if someone's like, hey, I gotta list my house like next week and we gotta get this done ASAP. On one hand, yeah, we won't have to worry about timing and we can just get in there, do the marketing. But statistically, staged homes sell faster. So are you really gaining time if you sit longer, you know, without that strength added? So yeah, I really like when people are able to stage. I think it makes the marketing better. I think the showing experience for buyers is better. The only con really that I hear is the money. But hopefully you see the payoff in that, and you even just the feeling, the experience of like, I know I got the best because I showed my best.
Right. So
what I'm hearing you say is like being proactive and
making an
experience for your buyer that will attract them to your house is probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to
sell the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely noticed the difference between
a house that I walk into that stage and one that's not.
Like it's
really stark contrast to me.
In terms of presentation. So.
And
I agree.
It just made me think of professionals matter. Like I've seen some interesting things where it's like, did this person like there's like camping chairs set up and it's like confusing. You're like, were they trying to like self-stage in this weird way? Or like there's like a TV tray with a roller chair looking like an office. Yeah, no, literally, I see this stuff. So a stager who's good at their job will do things you would not even have visualized, and it's really cool.
Yeah, that's fun. Do people even still use
TV
trays anymore?
Remember those? Do you remember those old trays?
They're brown.
They're brown. The ones that my grandma's house were
with the little
brown. They had
stands.
gold little legs on them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In Matilda, the movie Matilda. Yeah, those are. I need one of those sometimes for my couch.
Man. And in the TV dinner,
so you had your little
TV tray at the
TV dinner.
Uh-huh.
Man,
Maybe I'll
I used to always want those.
And I never got one.
I've never had the good TV dinners. I forget the brand, what it was.
They had
potatoes and meat, corn. That's crazy.
All right. So last question. What do you say to sellers who don't want to stage because it's going to sell anyway?
Yeah, I go back to the seller's remorse on that one. And again, no absolute truths. So if I have a seller that tells me, Keryn, I could maybe make more money. I know that some people, they're going to feel better knowing they did this. Like, they'll be more confident they got top dollar. I don't want to mess with any of that. And then at that point, I'd probably be like, what if I took care of all of it? You won't have to do anything. And if they're still like, I just don't feel that's not a value of mine, and I think it's dumb and I don't want to do it, then I will have more confidence knowing that we went over it and, they decided it wasn't for them. But then when we do a price drop that we talked about ahead of time, I just hope that there's no remorse there of, what if we would have gotten some staging in here and warmed it up a little bit.
That's good.
So remorse.
Anything else you want to share about staging that we haven't touched on?
I think I talked about.
You covered a
lot.
Yeah, I guess the one more thing I would mention is, sometimes people think, okay, so I spend $4,000 on staging. So instead of listing for $550, I want to list at $555. Because I think some people think of it as a literal equation. Like, okay, I put a new roof on, it was 15 grand. So therefore my house is now worth 15 grand more. And okay, there's pretty furniture in here that costs 3,000. So now it's worth $3,000 more. No. And it's not about increasing the dollar value literally. The amount you paid is the amount you get back. And that's why it's hard to explain it to people. It's more about attracting more qualified buyers and creating more desire and interest and competition to your home that you're selling.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's hard to have that conversation with folks when they're like, holy crap, that's a lot of money. So how much money am I getting back? What's the dollar amount? When so much of it is just about creating just attraction to your house and getting people to jump on it. It's not a dollar for dollar situation.
Good info. Well, thank you for
sharing all of that. I think that's super good info for anyone that's looking to sell right now
or buy
even.
And wondering
why you love a house more than you might love another house.
That's really good stuff.
That's really good stuff.
Well,
I
was just gonna say a consult is usually a few $100. Honestly, I've been thinking about paying one of my stagers to come in to my home just to do it just because they're that good. Like the home I live in and I love, I wouldn't mind getting a fresh set of eyes on it to tell me like, hey, have you ever thought of, changing things up in your personal space?
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Like to have that
type of service.
All right, we have one last segment. It's called Hot Take. And you have to pick one or the other of the things that I'm going to be throwing at you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. The Grand
Cinema or a big theater like AMC.
Grand Cinema.
Okay.
So you'd rather go to Grand than Port Ruston?
I'm going to be honest. And I love the Grand. And I love Phil, who is going to retire soon. But I will say, in my mid-30s, if the movie is over 2 hours, Point Ruston, because my butt's going to hurt. But I heard the Grand Cinema's getting new chairs if they haven't already. So maybe doesn't even matter anymore now that I'm saying it. But
are they getting? Please don't say they're recliners.
I don't think so. I feel like those rooms are too small for the recliners. But
agreed,
because you can't have enough seats in there.
But if they did that, it's over for your boy. Because between the popcorn and that. It's over for
because I think movies are so long these days. That's the only thing.
I call it an expensive nap.
Because I'm going to bed. You literally
have me in a recliner and turn the lights out. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Animal. So yeah, I'm going to bed.
Popcorn, Grand Cinema.
Reading or movie?
Yeah, reading or movies.
It really depends. Depends.
Well, there's no depends in Hot Take.
I love both. But I really have a special place in my heart for film. If I'm going out, movies. If I'm reading, home. I do like going to Mad Hat Tea with a good book.
Okay.
Food or drink.
You can only do one the rest of your life.
You can
only have food or you can only drink.
Food, because there's so many foods that have like pineapple. That's hydration right there.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to look at it. So you can eat like oranges. You eat a lot of oranges and get liquid out of it.
All right. The
2000s or the 2000s and 20s?
Which decade?
2000s.
All right.
Last one.
FaceTiming
people or being in person?
Friends in person.
Okay. We'll accept the answer.
See, I don't like absolute truths. I'm a gray area.
I know. I'm gathering.
Well, thank you.
Thank you that you've passed Hot Take.
And with that, give people the 30 seconds. How do they get in touch with you? How do they get a hold of you? If they want to know more about staging, all the things.
Well, I put my Instagram handle here. That's a good way to get in touch with me. DM me there. And then also on my Simply 253 real estate page, I have a link to like my personal Instagram too. I'm on both.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm more of a texter than a caller, not gonna lie. If you call me out of the blue, I don't know what your number is, my phone sends you straight to voicemail.
Have you ever FaceTimed someone like cold that you've never FaceTimed before? Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but like there's a text before, you know. There's a, hey, I want to meet you. Okay, how'd you find me? And then we Zoom. But yeah, if someone just randomly texts me like, hey, can you pop on Zoom? Who are you? I wouldn't do that.
There's hella scams out right now. I guess that's why.
Oh my god.
When you have your,
I don't think people realize this, but like
when you have your
contact info out in the open, like you're just
free game
for scammers.
Bad.
It's
right now it's so bad
right now.
Like I get like 6 spam calls a day.
That's wild.
And multiple texts. It's too much for this introvert.
I get definitely like emails, hit up, my texts. I have a lot of people hitting me on Instagram, for example, that it's the same message too. It's like, my friend
is in a
sorority and she thinks you're cute.
Like I'm like,
bro, you don't even got a real profile.
Oh, I don't get those.
And then there's like
the text. Like today I got one that was Coinbase.
Like I get a lot of those,
like saying that I transferred something somewhere.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
The pass, the good to go passes. Like, there's one of those that I get all the time.
I got the last notice yesterday. They're like, this is our last one. And I replied and I said, thank God, go away.
I hate scammers so much. Like, I literally think they're the scum of the earth.
I really do. So,
yeah, it's terrible. And then I think it hits your ego too. Because you're like, for me, it like brings my ego to life. Because there's also this thing of like, you think I'm going to fall for this? Right. You know, like, you're not going to trick me.
You want to know the worst part of this? I'm going to end on this note.
Yeah.
The President of the
United States is a scammer.
And so
therefore he is the scum of the earth.
So, anyway, we'll end on that.
Hot take.
The orange man.
All right. So thank you for joining. Talking staging. And yeah, that was really good.
That was really good. Really informative. And
folks, if you want to get in touch with her,
we'll put her info in the comment section.
And with that, y'all be good. Next week we'll have more good stuff for you. All right. Peace.
Bye.
All right, you don't have to jump up, but I'm going to stop right there, and we're good. I am driving myself crazy because... And no, I don't.